Thank you all for coming. And I would like to start by thanking the Institute for presenting this exhibition and this event. The NYU Abu Dhabi Institute sponsors major academic conferences, research workshops, lectures, film series, exhibitions, and theatrical and music performances in Abu Dhabi and New York, directed to both local audiences and to the worldwide academic research communities. My name is Maya Allison. I'm the exhibition director here at NYU Abu Dhabi, and tonight I'm very pleased to present the work of Franco-Algerian photographer Nadia Benchallal. We will start with a conversation with her and my fellow curator, Shamoon Zamir. After this talk, please join us for a reception next door. Both buildings are open for you to view the exhibition, and if you look at this brochure, there's a map on the back that will guide you through the exhibition, which is on all floors of both the north and the south building. This exhibition is a selection from Nadia Benchallal's long-term documentary project called Sisters, for which she photographs women from Muslim communities around the world. Nadia Benchallal conceived of this project while she was a student at the International Center of Photography, the ICP, in New York City. In her career, her photographs have appeared in international publications ranging from Le Monde and London Time magazine to the New York Times and Aperture magazine, which dedicated a section to her work on Algerian women. Her photojournalism and this project have both won awards internationally. I am delighted that she could travel from her home in Paris to be with us tonight. Benchalal's work was brought to my attention by Shamoon Zamir, who is a professor here at NYU Abu Dhabi. He studies literature, photography, and the intellectual history of the United States in the 20th century. His interest in photography has grown to include the Arab world in particular. In addition to this exhibition, he co-curated last year's exhibition of photographs from Egypt by Yasser Alwan, which many of you probably saw. He is now developing a major long-term project on photography from the Arab world that will include collaborative research, publications, and exhibitions. I'd like to thank Shamoon for his active participation in this exhibition program at NYU Abu Dhabi and for all he's done to make this exhibition and Nadia's visit possible. Please join me in welcoming Shamoon Zamir and Nadia Benchallal.
Thank you. I should actually say most of the lion's share of the work for the whole exhibition was done by Maya. She's, I think, done a fantastic job, and it's very hard when you're walking around the exhibition to realize just how much work was involved in this. Maya's been working on this for months. So indeed, I'm very pleased to be here, and I think the format we'd like to follow is to talk for 30 or 40 minutes or so, and then really to allow you to have a conversation with Nadia. And once the conversation's over, you've had some refreshments, Nadia's around as you walk around the exhibition. I'm sure Nadia will be happy to answer any questions and so on as well. As Maya mentioned in her introduction, in an odd kind of way, while the exhibition finds its home here at NYU Abu Dhabi, in some ways the whole project actually began in the city of New York with the ICP. And I was wondering if you would actually say a little bit about how you got to be at the ICP and how the interest in photography developed there, because you did a course at the ICP, being the International Center for Photography in New York, and how you began to conceive the project there.
Mm-hmm. So first of all, I want to thank you, NYU, to invite me and to have for the first time this exhibition in an Arab country. I want also to thank Maya for her patience and her collaboration, and also Shamoon. Thank you very much for choosing this work. In 1992, when I finished ICP, during this year of school in ICP, in the International Center of Photography, as the name says, we were a lot of foreigners studying photography. And at that time, a lot of my friends, especially American students who were with me, were asking me questions about Algeria. I was thinking at that time that I was French, completely French, because I grew up and I'm born in France. So suddenly this question really came to me as as really a reflection what is Algeria, what is this country. And I've been to Algeria when I was 8 years old. My parents immigrated from this country in the early 50s, and by questioning myself about this country, I decided in 1992 to go back to this country, 20 years after my first trip. So, and I was completely how I can say that I was completely concerned about women at that time, and I was reading a lot of books about the colonization in Algeria and the participation of women during this period. So, and I decided to go back to France to pick up, to go to Marseille, and I took the boat in Marseille, and I went back to Algeria by the boat. At that time, it was Algeria was entering a very, very difficult period, and in the same time, I wanted to find a part of my origin, of my culture, of this tradition. So, but when Algeria was entering a very difficult period, because I don't know if you remember, but from 1992 to almost 2000, Algeria had a curfew, intellectuals were killed, and it was really, really, really bad situation with the high evolution of Islamic people there. So in a way, this has helped me. I mean, this situation helped me and pushed me into the houses of women, because intellectuals were killed at that moment. You know, journalists and all intellectuals were really targeted by the Islamic people. So I was pushed to enter actually the houses of those women, and I discovered a word that I didn't know at all. So it was really, really, really a situation where I started to work and taking picture there. But before taking picture, it was very, very important to establish a confidence, because those women, when I was talking about documentary photography, they didn't know what it was. They didn't know at all why I wanted to take those pictures of them in their private life. So, and little by little, and you have to know that the photograph was been taken on women in general in those countries, and especially in Algeria at that time, was for the administration or for the celebration. So how come a woman who's living abroad, who's living in the other side of the Mediterranean, can come and take a picture of us? So it was very, and it was very at the same time a discussion, you know, and they accepted, you know, with they give me a certain form of confidence in a way, and I could work inside of the houses and pick it up a certain form of their everyday life and their private life.
You speak about the beginning of the project as a kind of quest for origins. You went back to Algeria because of your roots and so on. Although you went back very late in one sense. You went back when you were 8, then you waited a long time before going back. But as the project has developed, it seems to be something much, much bigger than a kind of personal quest for your own origins now. Can you talk a little bit about how it evolved out of the focus on Algeria and your own sense of, you know, belonging or not belonging to the bigger project that it has become? So
Algeria was the first step. When I discovered this world of women, I realized that what I was seeing in the media wasn't what I was living inside of the houses. And they were a really dynamic situation. I met many women who were very well educated, and at the same time, you know, they were asking a lot of questions about me, being an Algerian woman traveling all over the world, taking pictures by myself. So, they were surprising me as I was surprising them in a way. So did I answer to your question?
So,
no.
No, I understand that, but so what I'm partly trying to ask you about is how the project evolves out of Algeria to include France and Palestine, and
Yeah, I mean, I choose after Algeria. I really was concerned about the position of women, and especially I was looking toward the news, and when I heard about the war in Bosnia and what was happening in Bosnia, I decided to build a project on the consequences of war on Bosniak women. So, and this is how I end up with a specific and I went to photograph in different places, and especially with this issue of Srebrenica, where I was physically there when the 12th July of 1995, the enclave fell into the hand of the Serbian army. Yeah. And the Chetnik, because it's different, Chetnik is the radical wings of the army, Serbian army. So, and I was there, and I was already starting my project. So when those women arrived from Srebrenica, when the Serb kicked them out, I saw all those faces of women, old men, and children, and I was amazed because that day I was really taking a lot of picture, and I couldn't imagine at that moment, that special moment during like probably 8 or 9 hours taking picture and going from places to places, that men weren't there. It's the night when I came back to the place where I was staying that I said, but where are the men? And it was unbelievable because, I mean, you all know what's happened to the men. They were killed and they were buried on the mass grave. So, and I was obsessed. I was completely obsessed by those women, and really I went there back and back and back and back, trying to understand why. And what is amazing about this story, it's those women during 4 years of being this enclave, with no water, no electricity. Sometimes my organization, the UN, was flying them some food. Those women had babies hanging to hope. It was incredible to see the amount of baby born in this enclave during the war. And I guess this was because they were hanging to life. It was a hope, it was a way of saying, we're gonna stay alive because those children need us. So, and I went to, when I worked in Tuzla, I worked in therapy centers, and some of the women were there. I mean, where all the member of the family disappeared. A father, uncle, a brother. I mean, all the men disappeared. Sometimes some of the women also, but a lot of them, some of them were also raped. By the Serbian army, and I mean, it was an obsession. This story was a real obsession for me because I couldn't understand, and I cannot understand still, why this has happened, for what.
Right. I mean, if I've understood what you were telling me earlier correctly, when you first went to Bosnia, you had a certain plan for the project, and of course then events, Srebrenica happened, and you happened to find yourself there. So Bosnia was a particularly horrible example of how the project suddenly changed unexpectedly for you in terms of what you chose to photograph. Has that been the case now over the 2 decades that you've been, basically been working on the project, that the project has taken, because of where you've gone, the project has taken directions that you didn't expect to follow? Have you ended up photographing themes or subjects that you hadn't intended?
Yes, I think now I have like a really precise idea about the project that I want to take. I think I want to work in economy. I think the economy is the war of tomorrow. And I think women are really powerful in economy, especially here in Abu Dhabi. But also in Africa, where there is a lot of things happening. And I think, to show this independency also that they're gonna have with doing a business. And you don't have to forget that the wife of the prophet was really a big businesswoman. So, and I think women are improving. They are more and more. They always been educated, but you see that they taking their life into their hand and they want to move on with that. So I think economy will be very interesting, a way to continue the work.
So, I mean, obviously, we have many photographs all around the DTC, but this is only a small proportion of the overall project as you've so far photographed it. And the way you're describing the sort of next stage, potentially, how do you conceive of this as a whole? I mean, when does this finish? What is the shape of this project?
I think this is a life project. It's really a life project. I think I will continue to work on that. I mean, there will be, of course, a book at one point, but I have like 10 more countries that I would love to, that I would like to do a story, and they are very, very precise stories. So, so I think I will do my 10 countries and I will finish, but I want also to explore women and Islam in the US and in another community, even is not the country, the original country of this religion in a way.
Can I just go back to a kind of earlier point I was trying to make, which is that when you began the project in 1992, the position of Muslims in the world, the position of the relationship of the Islamic world to the Western world was very different to what it is today. And I'm wondering how what's happened in the world, not just with Muslim women, but with the general kind of geopolitical movements, has changed your sense of the project or its meanings. I mean, have you had to rethink what you're doing?
It was amazing because when I started this project on Muslim women, I find it that I was writing the project and finding grants to sponsor this project, and after 9/11 everything stopped. I don't know why, and I have this story about a magazine that I was working with, and it's a very terrible what I'm going to say, but one day I went to see them after 9/11 and I said, I have a great story, I would love to go in that place, and it was a Muslim country, and they said to me, don't talk to us about Muslim country anymore, we don't want to hear about it. So, and it was really, those a few years were very, very difficult to find, but to find or to go, for that project. This is a personal project, so it's. But today, with what's happening, I think in North Africa or in Egypt, you see women in the front of those revolution. I mean, in a way, so they don't want to take the power. They want to be equal of men. They want to play a role in the society, political, economically, culturally. And I think it's also very important to mention this part, because the world is changing, and I think, even women are getting more and more education. They are also playing a role in today's society since a long time, but we don't hear them. They are silenced.
Also, I mean, partly related to this, I want to ask a slightly blunt question, which is, as I hope the audience will agree, as you're seeing the projections and when you'll see the photographs, one of the things that I always find disappointing and also perplexing is that your work isn't better known, and the work of photographers like you, and there are many working in the Arab world. We had Yasser Alban last year, who's hardly known. And I'm wondering, given on the one hand, considerable interest now in the Muslim world in the West and in the Arab arts, why you feel that work of this kind hasn't yet been taken up and is not. I mean, there's a whole slew of contemporary art which is gaining the market, is selling for high prices, but certain kinds of photography and certain kinds of approaches from the Arab world seem not to have
the access
to, or are not being taken up by a more international audience. Do you have any sense of why that is?
There's many reasons. The world is changing. I'm taking picture in black and white. I think the work in Algeria was in black and white, and it got published a lot at that moment. But I think the commercial aspect of visual art has been changing, and this work in black and white, long-term project, really deep. I really don't know. I swear, I really don't know what.
So why do you work in black and white?
Why do I work in black and white? This is a good question. I think there is a big emotion and historical issues on the black and white. I think everybody who's here can remember a black and white picture.
Some of the students probably can't.
So I think black and white picture have this power of putting you right into emotion and right into history.
But it's more than black and white in your case, isn't it? If I'm getting this right, all the photographs in the show are on roll film. You're not using digital. Although I know you, for commercial work, you use digital, but you don't do it for this work. That also seems to me a very particular choice, and I would like you to talk a bit about that, because so many people have given up on roll film, and you still choose to use that. Why?
I mean, digital, I don't know where it's going. I think it's I don't know where it's going. So, and again, there is a deepness in black and white, deepness in a film that I cannot find, in color. Color is very, and digital is very beautiful, but how many of you have been doing prints with digital? With the photo that you do? How many? How many people does prints with digitals? Yes? Some. We don't do print with digital. We keep going, looking at the photo in the screen. But we are not, and sometimes we forgot them. I do. I'm doing digital also, I do forget them. So, and it's not like in contact, with digital you have this perception of looking at something and you can delete. In the contact, when you have a film, you see all the time your mistake. You can find a photograph, that you, at that time, you didn't edit, and you going back constantly to the way you have been working, constantly. And suddenly you find yourself, years after year, looking at your contact. When I went to print this exhibition in the laboratory, the woman who was helping me for that in my laboratory, she looked at my contact, she said, but you have such wonderful work. Why you didn't choose this picture? And why you didn't choose this picture? I said, this is my work, I choose whatever I want. So, but anyway, I explained to her, because there is a way of working. There is a picture standing because I want to show that, because I frame it. I never crop my images. I frame it into my viewfinder, and Shamoon says, and this is, I didn't know myself, he says that I'm moving a lot.
That's what strikes me, that I wanted to talk to you about that, because it seems to me related to the issue of whether you use film and what speed of film you use. Because a lot of the pictures are quite grainy because you're clearly using fast exposure. Not the picture we have currently, but many of the pictures that are flashing up behind us have a certain kind of compositional dynamism. But it also seems clear from them that you are doing a lot of physical movement yourself. You're squatting, you're standing up, you're moving around people. So it seems to involve a set of choices about your engagement with the scene and your place in it, which I'm curious about. Those of you who saw the exhibition that preceded this, the Is Algeria, they were very static, posed. So I'm just wondering whether the choice of film and the choice to shoot on film and the movement have something to do with each other in terms of how you approach the...
it's not the same exercise that you do with digital and film, definitely. In film you are completely in a frame, of course. you know. So, and you have to stay, actually I move a lot because I'm looking for the picture. I'm looking for the best angle that could make the picture. This is why I'm trying to go up and down, side. Sometimes it's just 50 centimeter foot behind, and you find the right moment and the right angle. So it's yes, it's about a question to get the right shot.
One of the ways some of the contemporary photographers talk about the choice of film over digital is that the digital entails or can produce a certain laziness. You take a lot of shots and then you can choose. What's your ratio of printing to shooting? I mean, how much, you just said yourself that you were surprised by how much of the contact sheet you don't use. Do you have a sense of how fast you shoot and what, you know? Somebody like Cartier-Bresson printed almost everything he shot.
No, I don't. I shoot when I do my personal work. I don't shoot a lot. I just my first trip to Algeria was 50 film for like a month. So, and there is a lot of pictures on 50 film because you straight to the picture, you know what you want and you think about the picture. You think there is a situation there that I won't give up. I want the picture, I mean, you know what you want already, but you're looking for the right angle. So, and you don't keep you don't give up until you get really the right shot. And I know it. I mean, I don't know, it's probably something, it's an instinct, but I know when I got the right shot. And sometimes you have a very nice surprise. You know, you're looking at your contact and you see picture, you discover picture that you didn't know that you took.
I think one of the things we again were talking about earlier in the day, which intrigues me, is that many of your pictures, although they're about quotidian, day-to-day realities and very ordinary things, they have a certain enigma or mystery about them. The picture of the women on the beach all facing in different directions, and it's not entirely clear what's going on. So they're not just straightforwardly documentary, at least not in my understanding of it. And I'm just curious about how you feel about the final form of this project, whether this is something that you feel requires substantial text to explain the pictures, or do you believe strongly that the pictures somehow have a communicating power of their own? I mean, when I've been talking to you about individual pictures, extraordinary stories begin to emerge about, you know, there's a very blurred shot of two women holding hands walking down a night street in Algiers. So I'm just curious about how you see the final version of this, whether this requires accompanying text beyond 2 or 3 lines of labels, or whether you would imagine this being in a kind of photo book form with the pictures by themselves.
I think I would love to add text to this picture, actually, but the thing is, when you know about the context of Algeria, you can understand this picture. It's an evidence, you know. You know that for the picture that, if I can explain this picture, it was hot, it was in July, it was during this high period, very difficult period in Algeria, and there is those 2 women who decided to go to the beach and to swim. They entered the beach, the sea, with a veil, and suddenly I was with them, and suddenly we heard like a shotgun, and they were, the hours was going on, and we were not far from the curfew, so we hear this shotgun, and they decided to get out of the water and to walk and to go back home. And I'm just behind them, and I'm taking this picture of them walking. It's dark, it's very dark, you know. So, but when you see this picture, it doesn't tell that those women were on the beach, you know, just enjoying a summer and taking a bath, you know, in the beach. So, but it tells about the curfew. It tells about, for me, about a certain form of precipitation, you know, and. But if you know, if you put it in the context of you read the caption and you know what was happening during this period in Algeria, you completely understand the situation.
You've chosen to call the project Sisters, which is, but implies a certain transnational community of, you know, Muslim women. I'm wondering to what extent your actual experience of working with the women justifies that. In other words, whether this is a label that you imagine imposing upon a community, an imagined community, or whether when you talk to women in Bangladesh, do they see themselves as sisters of the women in Palestine or Bosnia?
So I decided to give this name to this project, Sister, because in last year I went to Bangladesh and I heard all the time this word sister. Women were calling themselves sister. And by respect, by affection, and I heard it in Algeria, I heard it in Palestine, and I heard it in different places. And they are deeply connected. I do believe so, they are deeply connected. And this is why this project called Sister, definitely.
I've got a question, and I suppose it's a very quintessential question, really. How did you find this passion, this way of life? How did you know you wanted to become a photographer? How did? Oh. I mean, yeah, that's what I mean. That's basically it. Thanks.
Excuse me? Oh, thank you, thank you. It started, actually, my brother had a camera. My big brother had a camera, and he didn't use it, never. I was like 16 years old when I took my first picture, and I remember perfectly which picture I took. And I couldn't believe that I could do photography and I could live from it, you know? And suddenly I realized that I couldn't be a painter, I couldn't be a writer, because this is, I didn't know, I wasn't, you know, it wasn't easy for me to be a painter or writer, and I think I had something really to say. And one day I pick up a camera in New York and I just start to take a picture. This is how we started, but I think it was deeply in since I was 14 years old. And after, you have to make picture. You have to make picture, you have to have a good story and continue until you believe that there is really a body of work.
I have two questions. The first one is, whenever I want to take a picture of a Muslim woman, they're very protective of their image and who you're going to show it to. Did you run into that problem ever, and how did you solve it? And then secondly, if you could, if it was safe, would you want to go into Syria, and why?
So I want to say one thing, that this project is not easy to do it, you know, because when you enter the private sphere, it's just like you have to gain the confidence of those women. So how you gain the confidence by those women is to be fair with them, is to be clear with them about what you are doing, how you're going to use the picture, and why you are working this way. So, and I think I've been very fair with those women, telling them what I'm doing, but also because I bring the picture to them. I just give the picture, and I just show them what I'm doing, and I never had any problem until now. Going to Syria, I think I would love to go there because the back scene could be very, very interesting. But I think I gave up on war. I mean, I had many experiences in Bosnia and in different places. I went to Burma also, was a very, very difficult situation. And but my project is moving on with other things, with another vision, with another perception of identity.
Good evening. I wanted to ask you, it's like two questions, but they're connected. Regarding the black and white, is it more you're trying to show the melancholy of the situation or the beauty of the courage of the woman that's in the photograph?
I'm not trying to look for melancholy or joyful. I'm looking about the life, what it is. Sometimes it's joyful, sometimes it's melancholic, sometimes it's difficult, sometimes it's dangerous. So I'm not working in this notion of melancholy, or probably the picture are in the wall, or you see in the picture, they are yours, you know, now, and you have this capacity to identify them as you want, you know, they are not mine anymore. You know what I mean?
So it depends on the viewer.
It depends on the viewer, yes. This is, now you're living your own story with those pictures, you know. I have mine, but you have to live yours.
And my second question is, do you ever think you want to take colored photographs?
With this project, no. I want because I think it's a continuity, you know, in the work. I will probably change format, but I will stay in black and white because I think also there is this perception of keeping history, keeping this period where I'm working. I mean, as I said this morning in the radio, in 20 years, in 50 years or 100 years from now, I won't be in this place anymore. So probably that will be the result and will mark a certain period of the situation of this woman.
Thank you, they're lovely pictures.
Oh, thank you very much, thanks.
I'm just curious if you showed these people the final outcome of your work and what did they think of it?
Oh, not all of them because it's impossible to show it to all of them, but I show the picture to some of the women, you know, in Algeria especially, and some of them are looking at the picture because, and they said, oh, this is me, because I was taking a picture of them in their usual outfit, you know, and sometimes what I do is just taking the picture that they want, and I bring the picture that they want, you know, they go dressed, they go makeup, and they put themselves in a situation that will reveal, you know, the beauty about who they are. So, and I take this picture, of course, and after I do the work that I want to do, and when I give them the picture of themselves that they want, and the picture that I took that I want, is just like really surprising, you know, and it's very interesting also this dialogue, you know, with those images.
Have you ever had a situation where someone has objected to the pictures you've taken and asked you to withdraw them?
Yes. Yes, yes.
On what ground?
There is a woman that this case is this one of the women, I brought her a picture that I took, you know, because she didn't ask me to take the picture that she wants, you know, and she didn't get dressed and anything, and suddenly I brought her the picture and she put it in the garbage, and I accept it. I mean, I wasn't hurt at all. I mean, this is her vision. There is no problem for me. I mean, if she doesn't want to see her like this, it's a choice to stripe the images and to put it on the garbage.
But you won't then exhibit that picture?
No.
Okay, right.
Hi, I'm also curious about how you say you befriend the woman. Like, it's really nice to see you find relationships with women around, like, and get to know them before you take their pictures. But I'm also curious about the candid photos. Like, I'm sure you have some street photos that the ladies you don't know, and I'm curious on how you choose that, because you don't really know if the woman would like themselves to be identified.
That's
one.
True.
Yes,
that's true. And the thing is, when you do a statement on the street, you won't go to see the person and say, "Oh, I'm taking the picture of you." Sometimes I find a moment. And I take the picture because I see the moment it's happening is there, or it will happen. That's what Cartier-Bresson called l'instant décisif. And sometimes I take a picture of people and I know that they see me. I know they see the camera. And sometimes you can feel it. They're looking at you and they don't know if they will come at you and ask you the question if you take a picture of you. If I took a picture of them or not. So I go right away to them. I just say, you know, I took the picture. It was a wonderful moment. This picture is beautiful. Can I have your address? I can send you the images if you want. And sometimes they say, no. And I know that I'm really respectful with that. And I don't publish the picture and I don't use the picture. Many years ago, it happened to me in the situation I was doing a report for a French magazine, and I was taking the boat from Marseille to Algeria, and there were a guy, you know, who had like, he was an expulsed because he came to France illegally, and he was expulsed. So, and there were two police in civil beside him, and he was with the les menottes, how you call that, the handcuff. And I took the picture of him, and I saw him after in the boat, and I said, please, can I use this picture? I took really a picture of you when you were getting in a boat. And he said, you cannot use the picture. You can use the picture, but if we don't recognize myself. So I used the picture, but I asked the magazine to put a Band-Aid on his eyes. You know, there's many ways to go around, but be fair. Be fair with the picture that you are taking, and be fair to the people that you are photographing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Could you imagine if you would have the time to do a series on brothers?
I will tell you a story. Many years ago, there is the Vogue magazine who did an issue on Arab country with all artists who were from Arab country. And they sent me in Ramallah to do a session. It was a fashion shoot, actually, but they wanted to have a documentary vision on the fashion shoot, and they sent me to shoot young boys in Ramallah. So this is to answer to your question.
I'm wondering whether you find a reluctance to be taken, for the photographs to be taken with the modernity in that context, because I feel that I get to know some local students here, and also like local students in other universities in this country, and I find them that a lot of time they're very protective of their identity on Facebook. So I feel that these people are more educated in more modernized context. They have better understanding about the power of social media or the rapid pace of propagation of the content compared to maybe those people that you've taken pictures. Do they fully aware of this power of media, and is that the cause that they're more willing to be photographed?
No, they are not especially conscious about this aspect, you know. I mean, when you go to a countryside where, like in Burma, where you don't have, you know, media, television, and you're arriving to a village and you're a photographer and you come to pick up, you know, to do the subject on women, they don't know. They don't know what you're going to do with the image, you know. But there is a message behind, of course, you know. You don't go to such a places just for doing a project and not having a sense of social, political issues and what is behind. I mean, definitely, I'm conscious about what I'm doing.
I'm loving your pictures, and seeing them over and over again, I'm starting to feel an aesthetic. I'm feeling what Shamoon said earlier about a lot of movement, but I'm feeling great perspective. They're tremendously deep. They kind of go deep, 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 deep. And frequently, it seems to me, you're foregrounding a figure, such as this one, right? And then we're seeing way beyond that. So my question is a choice. Are you choosing to frame this way, or is this just how it's happening? It seems to be what your eye is drawn to.
Yes, I think, I deliberate, always look at what's happening in the front and what's happening in the back, but I was influenced by the photographer Gilles Perez. I don't know if you know his work. He did a wonderful book called Telex Persan. And I was completely amazed by his images, and I think there is also his influence in those pictures.
I just wanted to know if, did you have any problems, any objections with the men staying with the girls? Because, I mean, for my work, I was in Morocco for 2 years. I had to go to the villages, and I found it was really difficult because either the women they didn't want, or the men they said no, you don't have the right to take pictures. So I was wondering, did you have the same problem? Or?
Yes, I asked, to the woman if I could take a picture. They were sending me to their husband, and their husband they sending me to the woman, and he was going back and forth. But I think the key is the time. The key is the time to come to visit the people, to let them know what you are doing. It's to create this relationship, because it's very, very hard to come as a photographer and to enter a private sphere. It's very difficult. So time is the key, definitely. An authorization after they finally give it to you, they see that the person the person you are, and or they will never give it to you. It depends, but time is the key, definitely.
Do you feel that by being in these places and taking these photographs, you change the setting yourself? Do you feel you have an impact by being there?
Yeah, definitely. You when you step to Burma, or you go to Bosnia, or even you working in Algeria, or the work that I'm doing in France also, because I'm working with the new generation of immigrants coming from North Africa. So yes, definitely. I've been changing. Yes, I've been changing a lot, and I think I'm more tolerant. I'm more, at the same time, I'm more critical also. So it's in different level. It depends which the question you target, in a way. And so, did I answer? Yeah.
Thank you. I'm very interested to ask you about culture and the walking into different spaces. In one, you could be in a home of a family where it's normal that the electricity does not come, that the water is collected, used, and collected again. You go to another place and it's the same, similar Muslim woman without the physical constraints, but also struggling and facing liberty, identity questions. And then my question to you is, how did this experience, maybe earlier, change your view, perspective of France when you first returned? How did you reconcile some identity of yourself to the spaces you came from?
In a way, I'm a photographer, I'm telling story. So when I go to places where in Bosnia, when during the war there weren't any water or electricity, or in Burma, it's an issue because there is a war, because there is a situation who put them into that. But before that, they had electricity, they had water. It's a very difficult moment. But for the people who live in that day per day. But in the Burmese, in the villages in Burma, they live with it. This is the condition day per day. you know. It's not the same like in Bosnia. I mean, it's very easy for me to come back to Paris and to switch to turn and to have water, to switch on and to have electricity. So, and I'm conscious that in a way I'm an intruder to that situation, but I choose to be a photographer. You know, I won't stay looking at the people without taking the picture. This is my work. And often people have been asking me for help. I'm not a humanitarian. I'm very clear about it. I'm not a humanitarian organization. I'm a photographer. I'm doing images, you know. And this is not, it's realistic, you know, in a way. But I could go to Bosnia and know that women were smoking like crazy, were eating chocolate like crazy, and were having coffee like crazy, and bringing those things to them because they know they were enjoying it. You know what I mean? But this is not humanitarian cause. It's a generosity in a way. It's because you care about those people and you want to give something to them by heart.
Hi, thank you very much for your talk and for showing us the images. My question is, how do you choose your subjects? And once you've chosen them, how do you build that trust with them?
It depends. Sometimes it's an article, sometimes it's talking with friends and journalists, and you know, it depends. When you look at the work on Palestine, example, in Gaza, you know, I went there after the return of Arafat a year before. You don't see war, you don't see any aggressivity. It's very peaceful because I choose to work on all those people, Palestinian people, who were coming back to live in Palestine at that time. They probably went back to Tunisia or Algeria, but and it's very joyful because they discovering this land. Everything was under building, you know, money from the European community and from the UN were coming, so everything was building. I even went to the airport, you know, in Gaza, and they were wishing that the airport will be open very soon. So, you know, it depends. I mean, you choose a theme and you go into it and you decide to develop it. I mean, it depends on the situation, of the actuality, about what's touching you. And when I went to Burma, it was for a humanitarian organization, and they asked like 8 photographers to go to do a report on their mission, you know, in special region. And I said, you can send me whatever you want, but I want to be in a Muslim country. And I didn't know at the time that in Burma there were the Rohingyas and there were those Muslim people who were living there in such a condition. I didn't know. So I discovered that little by little, you know. So it depends, you know. It's accumulating a lot of informations, readings, contacts, discussion. It depends, you know.
Thank you. What are your next 10 countries then, or next 10 communities you're thinking about doing, or a few of them?
I think it's, I would love to do a piece here, an economy, and I would love to work in Istanbul, in Europe. And also next one will be probably the former Republic of Russia, Tajikistan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, all this region. So.
Well, with the hope that Nadia will return and work in the UAE, I'll call this evening to a close. Can I point out there's some refreshments available, I believe, but could we please ask that you not take the refreshments into the main gallery spaces because the campus regulations don't allow that. And then please do walk around and enjoy the exhibition, and Nadia is going to be around. Thank you very much.
Thank you.